Hey friends, welcome back to Unheard Stories. Today's episode, an incredible topic awaits. Men of Reddit, what are some things a mom should know while raising a boy? Story 1. If you and his father are not together, and you have negative feelings towards his father, don't tell him all the time how much he reminds you of his father. Story 2. Don't tease your sons about any female friends. It usually leads to issues with them being unable to talk to you about things when they do like someone. This is one of the most important advice. My mom thinks every female friend I've ever had is a crush, when that's simply not the case. As such, I can't talk to her about female friends anymore. Story 3. These apply to children in general. Please explain why things are being done, like why you're going to run errands, why he has to do the dishes, and why he shouldn't eat all that sugar. It's very frustrating not to know. It's also important that you reward the good things he does, and punish the bad through deprivation of reward. You should also praise work ethic over talent, as that's the biggest predictor of success. Story 4. Keep your promises, especially the small ones that are easy to let slip. And when you break or slip up on one, directly acknowledge it with them and apologize while trying to make amends, even if they don't remember. Raising a child that keeps their word is 100% modeling, not lecture. You have to show them how to build those skills by demonstrating them daily while reinforcing them with direct explanations of what you're doing or thinking in relevant contexts. Simply put, don't hold them or yourself to a standard of perfection or pure honesty. Expect accountability and integrity, even in failure or mistakes. It's just as important how we handle when we fail through our own mistakes as trying to avoid making them. Story 5. Mother knows best. Has some weight as a phrase, but should never be law in your relationship with your son. It's hurting when trying to defend yourself or what you want, while knowing the entire time you'll get dismissed entirely. Of course, you should have authority over your son, but ensure you do so respectfully. Listen to what they have to say and reflect upon what is being said. Don't take those moments your son may argue with you as time to catch your breath in between offend him. Story 6. It's good to be involved, but don't be overbearing. The most stressed out and repressed guys I knew growing up were always the ones whose mothers controlled every aspect of their lives. Also, have trust and tell him you love him. Story 7. You are raising him to be a man someday. He's not your little boy forever. Story 8. If you are arguing and he retreats to his own room or outside, don't follow along continuing the argument. Young people have a hard time expressing themselves and may need time to process their thoughts. Men are too often given the impression that they are only allowed specific responses, and unfortunately, one of them is anger. As a teenager, I couldn't get away from my parents when we argued, and I ended up feeling trapped. Story 9. If you knock on his door and he says, "Give me a minute," give him a minute. Don't just walk in. Also, never enter without knocking and never leave the door open. Story 10. Teach him to cook. My post-college roommate had his mom cook all of his meals. It was embarrassing to watch him try to operate a kitchen when he decided he wanted to make something of his own. Story 11. I'm going to speak as a 33-year-old man who was raised by a heavy-handed single mother. Let him be himself. He will resent you his entire life if you force your lifestyle, career, and beliefs onto him. Don't keep him from his father or give him bad information. If you two split, okay, fine, but let the man see and spend time with his father. These two ideas may not seem like much, but I cannot stress and emphasize the importance of both of these enough. Story 12. Have a healthy relationship with your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. Having a welcoming, stable, warm home is the very basis of being a positive influence on your children. Don't just focus on teaching him the good stuff. Focus as well on being a role model for him. Story 13. This is from my experience as a son. My parents taught me a lot of things during my teenage years. Instead of shaming your son into watching adult things, talk to them about it and tell them that it's perfectly normal to do so. If you are too angry or embarrassed to do so, let the dad do the talking. It's very important for them to know that it's a normal thing to do, and there's really nothing to hide or be embarrassed about. I have seen way too many parents grounding or going insane over their son being caught at it, and it seriously confuses me how they refuse to accept the fact that their son is just going through this period. Story 14. Most men are task-orientated, and this isn't really different while we're growing up. Don't drop hints, don't get angry at your son for not taking hints, and give him actual instructions. Once you've finished what you're doing, can you take the bins out for me? We'll get a much better response than, "Take the bins out now," and a much better response than, No one ever helps out around the house. The bins are getting full. Guess I'll do it myself. Even if you're sad or feel that way, give tasks, not hints, and in doing so, make sure they're aware that their current task/interest isn't any less important than your frustration. Of course, this is different if it's the second, third, or fourth time you've asked, but never lead with the hint or the do it now. Also, we tend to queue up tasks in our heads. If you ask us to do something, then something else, and something else. We will mentally plan what we're going to do, and give it an order of importance, and get to the jobs in that order. If you ask us to take out the bins, change the bulb in the kitchen, and push the Hoover around, don't ask us about the other two tasks while we're doing one of them. We're likely just doing it in the order that makes sense in our heads, even if it doesn't make sense in yours. Ladies, this applies to most of your husbands as well. If you want something to be done, ask for it to be done. Don't hint, don't command. Ask, and 9 times out of 10 it will get done, providing they were raised even slightly right. Story 15. Even when we're young, we have a lot of pride, and it's easily hurt. Try to keep that in mind, but also don't let it stop you from redirecting bad behavior. Honestly though, aside from the physiological things, there's nothing you can do raising a girl that you can't do raising a boy. Put an effort into understanding him as a person. Be encouraging, but let him have his space. Teach him to value things by making him earn them. Teach life skills and foster independence. Don't project your desires onto him. Also, if you are a single parent, please be aware that he might see the other men in your life as competition for your time and attention. That shouldn't ever stop you from dating, but if you see a change in behavior, that could be an answer. Story 16. I know this is a lighthearted subreddit, but I do hope this comment makes it through the jokes. I've sometimes thought about what would be the number one most important lesson I would teach a hypothetical son. And this is that lesson. In many regions, cities, neighborhoods, and schools, there is pervasive pressure on boys to use strong drinks in order to prove their manliness. This can be more dangerous to boys than other things to use because strong drinks are socially acceptable, readily available, and tied to masculinity in ways that content like hard things are not acceptable in society. Talk to your son about drinking, because alcoholism can take hold of a boy even in middle school, and once it has its hooks in them, they'll be fighting it his whole life. It will destroy relationships, it will end love, end employment, take a boy who is lost and looking for a path, then turn him into a boy that will never be found. It will be that devil on their shoulder beckoning them into an early grave. Story 17. Sometimes your son will dismiss your words and teachings and not listen to you a lot of times. Sometimes he will be cranky and will want you to leave him alone and all. You may start to think that he doesn't love you as much, but remember that your son loves you and will go to any height to protect you. This is a very strange thing with us men. We may not listen as much or appear disinterested, but by God, if someone says anything about our moms except ourselves, we will protect them till the end. So don't think he won't love you because he already does. He just doesn't show it, and probably never will. Story 18. Give him some responsibility, and increase it slowly. Things like chores are good, and knowing how to properly clean dishes, clean the house, etc. will be good skills to have when he leaves home. He'll know when he makes a mess, and that it's work to clean it. Chores were due every week by a certain time. I could always ask for help, and I only got an allowance or to use the vehicle when I had done them. Knowing how to cook a real healthy meal is excellent, and I've been told a number of times that having a partner who can cook well is a big deal to people and quite attractive. I know plenty of guys now who either eat out all the time or eat rice, eggs, and frozen things. Knowing how to cook is a great way to stay healthy and show you care. Lastly, say I love you. Make sure he feels comfortable saying it. Teach him to be okay with his emotions and not to just tough it out all the time. I know too many guys who think that just skipping it out is the solution to life's problems, but they don't communicate with their friends, partners, and families in a healthy way. Having a good life requires you to have some ability to be okay with your emotions and how you feel. You can't always be happy, but you can be okay with whatever you are at the moment, and that honesty opens up a lot of space for things to improve. Story 19. It's okay if he cries, no matter how old he is. Also, don't baby him. Teach him to be a fully functioning adult, so his SO does not have to take care of him someday. Don't do traditional women's work for him. Make him do it himself. Thank you for watching till the end. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.